But good, thank you. All black.
Learning environment as well, reputation.
Wonderful learning environment. From grades 1 through 6, I was in a segregated school. Grades 7 through 12, I was in a highly integrated upper scale high school. The journey was seamless. My teachers in K through 6 had me so well prepared to go to an integrated high school. I was in the first reading group there, second reading group, first reading group and everything, K through 6. I was in the first reading group there, for everything there. College prep, all the way. Algebra, geometry, trigonometry, and calculus. The idea of going to college was never questioned. The only question was how. Who's going to pay for it? I chose to go to Howard for basically one reason. The ladies. Yeah. I know what you're saying. Oh, man, it should have been. But you see, if I'm a mental, I have to tell you the truth. I have to expose myself. I have to expose my strengths and my weaknesses. Now, why is that? Well, in Atlantic City, New Jersey, where I'm from, people may or may not realize that's a matriarchy. And, if you want to excel in that society, women control your excellence. And so the women in Atlantic City set high goals for all the kids. The men did too, but usually it's the women who would articulate them. Set high goals, and they would mentor us. It was the women that set up the Cub Scout packs. It was the women that set up the Little League. That's not to say that men didn't come in and coach. But the infrastructure, the organization that made it happen, a lot of that was done by women. And they look to raise us in a certain image of manhood. Now, I have to be better than that. But I went to Howard, and started out at Howard. Didn't work out too well there. Got too caught up in the frat stuff, fraternity. Anybody in here fraternity person? I'm a Q. All right, which way did you go? Okay.
Blue and white.
All right. What's that though? Sigma? Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am.
Alpha Kappa Mu Honor.
Oh, very good. All right. Now, yes, sir. Which way? A5A. Oh, okay. Right. Let me see. That would be because we have to study the alphas to be a Q. I mean, to be a Q, you have to study the alpha. Your alpha chapter. Don't tell me it's in New York. Cornell, 1908. Alpha Phi Alpha? Well, what is it then?
Oh, 1906.
Oh, okay, wow, 2 years away. Okay, but I was beaming in there. And, the fraternity was great, and the fraternity helped to build on what I learned in the church about organization and the power of organization. Okay, I went into the war, Vietnam War, had a lot of it, some interesting jobs, some of them there, race relations, I was a psychiatric therapist, I was a trainer. And while I was in the military, I finished my degree at Chapman College. I have a Bachelor of Science in Social Science. All right, thank you. All right. The learning there was basically anthropology. Anthropology is the study of woman and man on the face of the planet Earth. To understand mentoring, you really have to understand how men and women teach each other about each other in order to build teams called families on the face of the planet Earth. Now I say woman and man rather than man and woman. Thank you very much, Patrick. Thank you, my brother. Because if I learned one thing from anthropology, it would be this: no one walks the face of the planet Earth unless a woman says it's okay. Am I right or wrong?
You're right. Can you call my son?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So later on, when I moved into management, I began to study feminism. Feminism is not as much about gender as it is about leadership style. I know a lot of men that are feminine. I know a few women who are masculine. Now that doesn't make them less woman, and it probably doesn't make the man less man, although in my neighborhood you could be penalized for and mentored away from that. So the learning here has to do with the interactions of males and females and how those interactions build the basic social unit, that's the family, the existential social unit, that's the workplace unit, and then on a grander scale, the nation, and on a grander scale, the global society. Now, the same things that hold the family together hold the global society together. You just have to You have to get that knowledge. You have to understand that. And most of that knowledge does not come out of books in school. It comes word of mouth from mentors. Because to learn to govern, let alone learn to rule, they're not going to teach you in a book. They're not going to write it out. They're going to bury it in the heart and the mind of a teacher that studies you and weeds you out and then says, okay, hey, come on over, hey, let's go to coffee, let's sit and chat. And then they begin to fill you out before they determine whether or not they're going to give you the keys to power. And that is to understand what their glue is that extends from the family to the global society that allows a guy like George Bush to rule the world. Rule the world. Rule the world. Because that's what a B-1 bomber's for. That's what a stealth bomber's for. Okay? It's not to fly over some folks who are going to shoot back with machine guns. That's all they got in Iraq. 50 caliber is probably the largest, well, tow missile. Rule the world. So when we were on the panel today and folks told me, look what they did to black people, look what they've done. Yes. Because we were brought here to work. We weren't brought here to be free. That game plan hasn't changed. But if you want to look at your growth, figure this. When we first stepped off that boat, 357 Magnum to the forehead, bam, what's for lunch? Now they got to at least come up with something like AIDS. It ain't that easy to kill us no more. And it's through mentors. Because they're not going to teach you that in public school. We're going to learn from mentors. First, how to free ourselves from threat. We've pretty much done that. Next, to free ourselves from sitting at the back of a lunch counter. That was the 50s. Now, it's financial freedom. So when I made the statement about this being a 4-star hotel, what I was alluding to, we need to own some hotels.
Say that, my brother.
Right. We need to own them. It's just 4-star hotel. You can't go gulp and burp over this. You got to say, whoa, how do we get one of these? And who are the people in the best possible position to own a hotel? Blacks in government. When I was in Blacks in 1980, I said, as you look around the room, how many of you here work for government agency? Every hand went up in the room. This is when we had large crowds. I said, that means everybody here's got a job. If everybody here decides we're going to work together to let our money work as hard as our backs and you know what are working, we will leave government and own something. But you know, every now and then you can't tell people about something. You got to go and do it and come back and show them. And then they say, wow, okay. My master's degree is in business management. I'm about 3 hours away from a master's degree in business MBA. It was at that level, 6 years of college, K through 12, that I found out what these were. See, these are just going through a change. Up until I think like the 70s sort of get sort of weird now, but I used to have the date down. But at the top it says silver certificate. Don't tell on yourself, but how many of you have seen one of those says silver certificate at the top? Right. You notice all the hands are not going up in the room. My master's degree is in business management. I'm about 3 hours away from a master's degree in business MBA. It was at that level, 6 years of college, K through 12, that I found out what these were. See, these are just going through a change. Up until I think like the 70s sort of get sort of weird now, but I used to have the date down. But at the top it says silver certificate. Don't tell on yourself, but how many of you have seen one of those says silver certificate at the top? Right. You notice all the hands are not going up in the room. They do not remember where the top of U.S. currency said silver certificate. Right now it says Federal Reserve note. All right, why is that important? Well, let's go back to language arts and social studies, vocabulary. What's the difference? A note is an IOU. How many of you own your own home? All right, grunt something right. You signed the what? Well, you paid cash. You signed the note. And then to work a real long time, that's all day, 50 weeks out of the year, 40 of the best hours of the week for very few. How many of you would agree with that? Right, there you go. Say yeah. Put your hand in there and say yeah. Yeah. Tell them down the hall. Yeah. Right, because it takes mentors. How many of you I've ever heard somebody tell you on the job, the name of the game here is to work as little as possible and make as much money as you can. How many of you have heard employers say that? They don't. Because you're not paid what you're worth. You're paid replacement costs.
There you go.
Right. And if you've ever studied accounting,
Yes.
slaves are assets.
That's right.
Employees are liabilities.
Yes.
It ain't racism, it's economics.
Yeah.
It's economically more feasible to run a plantation of slaves than it is to have the best employees in the world. Because when you go to the bank for a loan, you gotta take your balance sheet.
That's right.
Now, with that philosophy has to be a psychology to make it palatable. That's why high melanin content. We're back now to anthropology is ugly. It's you black skill. No, I'm not. I'm honey cocoa brown. And when I relate to white folks, I let them know you're not white. This is white. You're pink.
Thank you.
Right.
Hey, that's it.
It's kind of hard to get the war on between the pinks and the honey cocoa brown. Because then honey cocoa brown take on a new image in the mind. Here we go, loop de loop. My last degree is the doctorate. Okay, everybody's saying, well, you know, there's something to elitism. Because see, what happens in elitism is, after you suffer through all those sacrifices you have to make to get that education, no parties on Friday and Saturday night, no money in your pocket, everybody calling you square, nerd, and laughing at you because they're over here doing this and you're over there doing that. But the people you hang out with, people that are willing to make that sacrifice. Because when they buy new cars, you're not. When they buy new clothes, you're not. When they go on to the show, you're not. So you develop this cadre of people who have made a different choice. They have chosen learning over partying. And you sort of reinforce each other. You know why? Well, because you've had to. And in the black community, the PhD community is way within. But I want you to understand something. There's a game of life, okay? There's a game of life. The game of life in a capitalist society is called a finite game. Finite game is a game that has a winner and a loser. You cannot play the game unless someone wins and someone loses, by definition of the game. To understand that, you have to, this is the level where they teach you about that way of thought. Not the master's. The master's degree is about how do you get stuff done. It's a technical degree. The BS, that's just, okay, this is what life is about. But the doctorate is where they teach the game because they have to teach you research. And once you start getting in all them search engines, then you find out stuff your dissertation. You say, what you did? Let me jump over here and check this out.
Yes.
And oh, you see another open, let me jump over here and check that out. And they say, whoa, whoa, there's a game. There's got to be a winner and there's got to be a loser. It's best for the game if the loser is designated from the beginning. If you can start off with saying, I tell you what, as long as you go through life, you are the loser. And I build a psychology around that. So you go, oh, woe is me, this has happened to me. You never pick your eyes up off the ground and look up into the stars. And that is where you belong. And I'll show you why as we get down in these slides. Okay, the doctorate is about who learns what, from whom, under what conditions, and where. It's about curriculums. Curriculum is a plan for learning. And whoever designed your curriculum puts you in that seat right now. And right now, if you're in my workshop, I feel you're the best seat in the house.
All right.
Right.
Like that.
See, either you're designing your curriculum or somebody else is.
That's it. That's it.
Right. And what do they want you to not know? How to change curriculums. Okay. So what does that enable me to do? My knowledge has enabled me to set myself free. Not free from responsibility or free from accountability, or freedom to make choices, like where I want to be at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday, or where I want to be at 1:15 on a Wednesday. Now, I know a lot of folks, they're at work right now. if they go to their boss and say, you know what, guess what? I would like to go to a Blacks in Government workshop and sit and listen and learn, and their boss says, what? Huh? I see you laughing already, right? They're not free. I would like to go to a Blacks in Government workshop from 1:15 to 3:30 and work for nothing to tell people that may not appreciate it about how do you really win in the game of life as designed in a win-lose infrastructure like the land of the free, home of the brave, with liberty and justice for everyone who can afford it. Okay, the purpose of this presentation is some knowledge and skills to support your career development activities through mentorship relationships. And one of the mentors, I'm going to ask you to have a cadre of mentors, but one of the things I'm going to ask you to do is have a mentor in there that teaches you the basic fundamentals of financial independence. I am going to ask you to have a mentor somewhere in your cadre of mentors that wants to see you wealthy. Now, before we go on any further, what does wealth mean to you? So we know where we are. I'm leveling with you. You can level with me. Don't be scared, because the first thing you got to do is open your mouth. Not for these other folks, but so you can hear yourself talking about your wealth. Okay, who's going first? Yes, sir. What's wealth to you?
So I can do whatever I want to do when I feel like doing it.
Okay, give me a number, because the brain works better with a number. I feel you, my brother. Give me a number or a system of numbers.
$5 million.
Okay, excellent. I can work with that. Somebody else. Yes, sir. Charles.
$1 billion.
Oh, okay. All right, Charles, big thinker. Right, because they have introduced us to the B's, right, Charles? And Oprah got one, right?
Pass the M's over to the B.
Right. Now, if Oprah can get one, hey. And Oprah's a bad sister. I'm not taking nothing away from her, but what she showed me was I set my goals too low.
That's right.
Right. Somebody else. Yes, sir. Give me a number. All right. Yes, ma'am.
I would say, you want a number or do you want definition?
Well, I want a number, but we can go back to a definition too.
Well, then why do we have to limit ourselves with a number?
Because the mind works well with a number. It clarifies. When you say $10 million, your mind sees that one, the zero, the comma, the 3 zeros, and immediately, once your mind realizes your heart is in it to the death. Now, there are 2 levels of commitment. If your mind says, she's only kidding, she's just saying that so skipping everybody, she doesn't mean it. So we'll smile and... Okay, yeah, all right. Now see, when your heart adopts it, it will create... Now, how do I know this? Nate was talking about it today. How do you think they got that? What is the Hubble telescope? I'll tell you, it's a result. It's a result of what happens when you link minds without fear or second guessing each other. When minds are linked without fear, with a sense of belonging, with creativity maxed out, we can put some pots and pans in the air, because that's what it is. It's some pots and pans and some mirrors in the air with some electrodes that can photograph the end of the universe in color and send the pictures back to us on command. If we can put that in the sky, you can have $100 million to Pluto. It won't get there for 20 more years. But when they want to, they can wake it up, have it take pictures, collect information, send it back. If the human mind can do that, it can get the brother with $5 million, with $5 million. Because the same mind that sits in those scientists' head, that sits in your head as well. The question is, who are you talking to? Who are you associating with? What are they saying? What are they reinforcing in terms of your beliefs about what is capable? A mentor can help you with that. Okay, number 1, the business case for mentoring. For me, the business case for mentoring, I'm going to make it very simple, and then I'll try to explain it. More money, more money, more money, more money, more money. Now, I know what you're saying. Where's the love, my brother? When I got more money, it's easier to love, because the pressure's not there. You know what I mean? The 15th and the 31st are just days. Somebody said, what's on the 15th? 31st? What?
You're right.
What? Right. You know, when I was dating, you know, somebody they said, "Oh, excuse me," I said, "Sit down, have a drink." I'm like, you know, glass start rattling. Right, lady, you know, that's the secret, isn't it? You know what I mean? Rattling the glass, you know, what does that mean? Hey, buddy, you know, hey. Okay. Money buys time. I wanted to have June, July, and August off with my kids, so they call me Daddy, not Skippy. To have June, July off with your kids while they're growing up, you don't know how phenomenal that feeling is. To know that you have June, July, and August off, and the bills are paid.
Right.
Want to get home by 3 o'clock. So I had to design a job around a lifestyle, not a lifestyle around a job. But for a while I did. I'm not saying I didn't. So there's a business case for this, and I'm going to say, you have to figure out, what does success mean to you? Success means to me time and the money to do something with it. Well, what do you do with that? Well, I've developed a deep love for giving to charity. I really have. That's something I never thought I'd do, and that is want to give to charity on a regular scale. Okay, some key terms we'll define. I wrote a package called the care package. One of the things that Georgio was here helping us with today is to make a video of this. We're going to start marketing the video. We're going to start selling the video. To help people to understand how do they improve who they are through working with and linking their minds with other people. And then I'll talk a little bit about a mentorship agreement. And this is an agreement that I recommend that you develop with your mentor to keep that relationship on a business level. It's going to be an intimate relationship, but it should be a business relationship, and the document or the contract or the agreement helps us to keep that on a business level. All right, the business case, your competitive advantage. By linking your mind with minds that are sharper than yours, minds that are at your level and above, you create for yourself a competitive advantage. How many of you competed for your job? Put your hand in the air and say yeah.
Yeah.
And you got that job because you were better than the other person, right? You competed. That means you went in there with skills and abilities that that other person didn't have. Mentoring brings that to you. How many of you competed for your spouse?
Yeah.
Oh, just a few? All right, so how many of them married somebody nobody else wanted? You got that scrub, right? All right, well, see, either you competed and your spouse competed for you, right? Or somebody settled. Right? Yeah, you never thought about that. Yeah. How many of you, no, don't raise your hand. Don't do that. Professional development. In order to be better and get better, somebody's got to be in your corner. So maybe you have a mentor that talks to you about the professional culture in which you live and work. Builds knowledge. And what we're talking about here, ladies and gentlemen, is a broad and deep knowledge base. That means you know a whole lot about a lot of things. You know about a lot of things, and you know about it to a great deal of depth. We're not wafer-thin knowledge builders. That means know how to open the door and turn out the lights and go home, wait for lunch. Is it lunchtime yet? No. We understand the nature of our job and what it means, and we understand it to the nth degree. Enables change management. You know, it's a lot easier to change when you understand the process of change and all the different levels of change. That's what these knowledges and mentors help us to do. Of course, enhances skills, job opportunities, improves performance, and develops cultural fit. One of the things, in America you'll hear me say there are 5 kinds of people: owners, managers, and workers, unemployed and unemployable. Each one of those is a culture. I've been homeless, very short amount of time, but I have, and there is a culture of homeless people. Many of those people are very comfortable in that culture. There is a culture of unemployment. My father lived and died in that culture. There is a working class culture, and the purpose of a labor union is to hold the labor force together, not promote people from laborers to managers. There is a management culture. If you work in government, you have seen people go from the labor force to the management team. Yes. Did they not change? Yes.
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 Because a manager is a shock absorber. A laborer is a gopher. You educate the manager to handle the twists and turns in the organization differently than you educate the laborer that's going to do what they're told. Ownership is an entirely different culture. It is a culture that is physically and psychologically separated from management and labor, just like the back of a dollar bill. To fit into, look at the back of the dollar bill, you see the pyramid with the eye. And there's a lot of mumbo jumbo about what that means or doesn't mean, but I tell you what it means. The American society is shaped like a pyramid. But ownership is lifted away from everyone else because it makes decisions independent of how management and labor is affected. So you have a leverage buyout via re-engineering via. Right. Because as Calvin Coolidge said in 1924, the business of America is business, not feeding and clothing families. And I don't say that to you to be mean. I don't want you to hate me. I just want you to understand when we talk about change, you're talking about changing if you don't believe me, look at the income tax for a business owner. The income tax statement when somebody working a job. Why is it that way? Because it's a different culture designed for different purposes, for a different role in America. And as we, as African Americans, are going to take leadership roles in this society, if we're going to change it, we have to get to that top, because if you're going to change it, that change must come from within. You're not going to change the concept of ownership in America like we changed the concept of CSAT at lunch counter. All that stuff was about the labor force. If you're going to change the concept of the ownership culture, you're going to have to become an owner and then work your way through the top with that $100 million business to put you next to Oprah and 50 more women and men like you. Then we make a change in that culture. If we had $100 million people in the African American community that were willing to share that knowledge, we'd change the world. We would change the world. Because we would bring soul to it, and that means we would bring heart to the cognitive thought on money and what it is and what it is not. Okay, informal mentoring. For many of us, we're going to use an informal route. Informal mentoring is when, come on down front, ladies, best seat in the house. Come on down. Come on down. We're going to stop. Several lists. What types of mentors do you need? One, I wanted to be a dynamite husband, so I had to find, at first I started talking to guys. What does a dynamite husband do? That didn't work. Right, see, if you want to learn how to be a good husband, you got to talk to women about that. They have husbands. Right. And they'll tell you what a good man, and because being a man and being a husband, those are two different things. So I want to be a good husband. So, I got some mentors that can teach me, because I didn't know. I mean, there's no course you can take for that. I mean, if I couldn't do what my dad did with the ladies that came up in my generation. So watching dad did not work, because the ladies weren't like mom. They were very different, very, very different. And now y'all making me sweat. You see, this is what happens. This is what happens when you get in these conversations. Right, because as you start going into each other's personality, you have to reveal yourself. There's nowhere you can hide. Okay, so another mentor I had was a mentor that could talk to me about wealth, because I grew up afraid of money. So I had to find a mentor that could help me deal with commas and zeros and get over commas and zeros, where I could really see myself as first a millionaire and then a multimillionaire and then a multimillionaire with some maturity behind it. And it doesn't happen in your pocket. It doesn't happen in your wallet until it happens in your mind. And it's that mentor to help you do that. I needed a mentor to help me become a public speaker, somebody who had done it before, somebody who could walk out in front of an audience of strangers and feel as though we've known each other all our lives. How you doing? Okay, I'm glad you can make it. Yeah. So you have to go out and select, and you say, okay, I need a mentor for finance, a mentor for romance, a mentor to understand professionalism, and a mentor for this, and then go around and start finding who can fulfill one or two or three of those roles. Who seems to demonstrate that kind of knowledge? And if you can't find it in a person, you may find it in a book. Allow books to be your mentors. A formal mentoring program, these are programs I design generally for corporations, but blacks in government should have a formal mentoring program. Gentleman came to me and said, Skip, help me design a mentoring program. I said, yeah, meet me down to Washington Athletic Club. I'll take you to dinner. And I will lay out a mentoring program for blacks in government. You know what my man did? My arm, my leg, my car, my aunt, my uncle. I couldn't make it. I'm sitting down there at the WAC. You need a mentoring program. You need a formal mentoring program. Why? So when people that don't know each other come together, there's a go-between, there's a system there that will help them bridge that gap, and especially across gender and especially across age, because sometimes it takes a few conversations and a third party for cross-gender communications to be effective. And sometimes older people like me have a harder time with younger people like you know what I mean? I mean, we need to have somebody there that can help us to navigate and negotiate that relationship, and especially if we feel like we're getting into areas that we're not prepared for it, and we might need some support or outside knowledge. So there are informal programs and there are formal programs. I recommend that you, when you leave here, you go to the Blacks in Government Leadership and demand a regional mentoring program. Demand it. Demand it as part of your due structure. That a method, and there's a board member right there. Is that Harrison McMillan? Is that?
Yes.
Is it him? Am I right or wrong, my brother?
You're right.
Thank you. As far as an informal program, this is what you do on your own while you're here. Take a look around. Who's hot and who's not? Who do you think you could learn something from in a 15 or 20-minute conversation once or twice a month? Maybe a half an hour once or twice a month. If it's interesting for one and interesting for all, maybe you could go for an hour twice a month. Or maybe you could send each other some emails. But we're talking about the most natural phenomenon on the face of the planet Earth, and that is psychological educational growth. Now, here's a program that I wrote, and it's designed. I've got it in Boeing, I've got it in Microsoft, I've had it all through state government here in Washington, Seattle for a time, and it's a program designed to help build a strong mentoring relationship. Mentoring, of course, is a leadership style, and leadership is about turning learners into leaders. Leadership is a learned behavior, and it's also selective behavior, because we don't need a lot of leaders. That's why you see the pyramid here at the top. The American economic system is shaped like a pyramid and not a rectangle. If it was shaped like a rectangle, it would imply that everyone on the bottom could make it to the top. But in America is not designed for everyone on the bottom to make it to the top. So in order to ensure that the top 10% fill the top 10% of leadership positions, we invent blockages and structures in our primary leadership development system, that's K through 12, to ensure that everybody doesn't reach the 12th grade with a 4.0 algebra, geometry, trigonometry, and calculus, and 4 years of college English. Now, well, let's just stop for a minute, Skip. What would happen if they did? Well, if they did, the first thing they would do is they would go to college. And they wouldn't just go to Seattle Central Community College and Eastern Washington University. They go to Harvard, Yale, Cornell, Princeton, Oxford. And then when they came out of there, they go back to grad school, because they have this love of learning, and then a degree doesn't mean that much. It's the knowledge. Oh, this is how that works. Oh, this is how that works. And they go in for the doctorate. Then you can go out and invent how stuff works yourself, because there's not a whole lot new under the sun. Most of the research is about stuff that was known 3,000 years ago. The Egyptians, in order to build the pyramids 4,500 years ago, had to invent algebra, geometry, trigonometry, and calculus, the written word, the spoken word, 40,000 years before that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Because you can't build a pyramid without trigonometry.
Yeah.
That's right.
You can't build a pyramid without geometry. You just don't go out in the middle of a desert and stack bricks.
That's right.
Right. You know, you see, it's not like a kid with a Lego game or a block here. Oh, that was good. Right. No. These guys figured it out. They dropped lines from stars to points on Earth within 2 inches of the reality of the measurement 4,500 years ago. I've seen it. When you go to the walls of the pyramids and the monuments, you see where they were doing brain surgery, intestinal surgery, 3,500 years ago. Dentists, 3,500 years ago. Poets, 3,500 years ago, that blood flows in your veins. 3,500 years ago. When we walking around with signs, we shall overcome. We shall over. Well, no. It's not someday. Again. Not we shall overcome someday. We shall overcome again. But we've been oppressed. And we chose to fight swords and knives and guns and bullets and HIV with love. I mean, that's why we chose to fight our oppressors with love, with care. Why? Because that's who we are. So yeah, they're trying to kill you. Because see, if you have a love philosophy, and see, to oppress somebody, you have to have a hate philosophy. I mean, I cannot oppress you unless I create in my mind this vile hatred for you. I don't say change our philosophy. I just say understand what we're doing. And we understand the what, the who, the why, the when, the where of love, largely through mentors. We need mentors that teach us how to love politically, how to love economically. So put that on your list. Okay, CARE stands for, first of all, preparation of the imagination. I'll get into that. Stands for communication, that's the ability to send messages from brain to brain. I'll get into that right now. My brain is sending a message to your brain, using the roof and floor, my mouth, lips, teeth, and tongue to make sounds. I'm capable of decoding. It's going to talk about attitude. Attitude is your belief system. What do you believe to be the truth about the truth? How many men in here believe you're a handsome man? Put your hand in the air and in a hearty voice. Say yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so you got to be able to do that. Because if you came up in my block, you know, and you was like this, boy, everybody was telling you it was ugly. You got big lips, hair black, kinky hair. One day my teacher said, well, this is melanin. It protects your skin from skin cancer. So what about my hair? Well, your hair's got melanin in it. That's because 50,000 years ago, your ancestors were in a warm climate, and the hair was fluffy with those curls, so that air would float around your brain so you wouldn't get a stroke. So get that conch out of there. So what about my lips? She said, well, one day these are going to make great kissing. Line up.
There you go. There you go.
You'll have references. So I waited because my mother wasn't having food. So I was a grown young man. I waited and waited, and I practice. Practice makes perfect, right?
That's right.
All right, the human brain. See, the first thing we have to understand is the power of the human mind, which is developed in the human brain. The truth is you have four brains: the mammalian brain, the reptilian brain, the left and right hemispheres. The reptilian brain is at the brainstem. So have you ever noticed how little you're taught about your own hardware and software? The brain is the hardware. Now, you would think that you needed to be on your way to becoming a neurosurgeon to study the brain. No, everybody should study the brain, because when you study the brain, you know what you can do and you know what to do with it. Now, for most of us, they want to keep us down here in the reptilian brain. So you all these things, you know, going back and forth to jail. You know, they got this to kill you, they got that to kill you. They're trying to do this, they're trying to do that. Oh! Well, that's scary. And as long as you're afraid, you have a very difficult time doing what the mammalian brain. The mammalian brain is designed to create relationships, to bond you with others. Well, what am I talking? Reptilians have eggs. Everybody's got eggs. You and I started out as itty-bitty, teeny-tiny eggs. Eggs are not the unique thing. It's what happens after that. Reptilians bury their eggs in the sand, and mommy and daddy go off and leave them to fend for themselves. We call that cold-hearted or cold-blooded, but that is their nature. Mammals have live births, but in order for that mother to stay with that child until that child is old enough to take care of itself, there is a part of the brain designed to structure that in. If it doesn't work very well, mothers go off and leave their children. And when mothers go off and leave their children, children suffer. And when children suffer, they don't grow into healthy adults. And when they don't grow into healthy adults, your society suffers. If the name of the game on the face of the planet Earth is life, then there has to be a species that when having live births has something attached to their intellect that drives a need, a desire, an emotion to bond. We're doing that right now. We're bonding right now. That same process that bonds mothers and fathers to their children can bond us as a work group, bond us as a learning group, create within us a learning team, a learning organization, unless someone fragments us. Now, in business, the fragmenting term is called segmentation. It's market segments. That means you separate people so you could look at them as individual entities. In sociology, the term is segregation. Now, why do you segregate or separate people of different races? So they don't talk to each other. So they don't realize their similarities, because in real life, we're going to talk about differences. If we got an hour of real life, we'll talk about differences for 30 seconds because we're not that different. We're 99.8% the same. The left and right hemispheres are designed by nature to get you anything you want. But first you have to drive out fear, bring in desire. You have to desire your future, not fear it. You have to link your mind with other minds through a sense of belonging. And when you feel relaxed, when you feel comfortable, when you feel as though you belong, when you feel as though you want to just innovate and create because there's nothing around to harm you, these two bad boys get to work. Now, when I was about 5 years old, people delivered milk by horse-drawn carriage, 1950. What happened between 1945 and 1975 to go from horse-drawn carriages to walking on the moon? Well, some fears were driven out. Some people that never felt they belonged together came together, and the left and right hemispheres were freed up. We have been oppressed for thousands upon thousands of years. That stuff that happened in 1975, that could be done in 1985 or 1765 or 1625. Because if you look, I mean, if you look at between 1950 and today, it's only 60 years. What happened? The mind was freed up to create. So what mentoring allows us to do is to learn how to maybe, number one, get rid of some of our fears and move towards desires. Helps us learn how to build learning relationships, how to bond with others, and to free up our creativity. What mentoring allows us to do is to learn how to maybe, number one, get rid of some of our fears and move towards desires. Helps us learn how to build learning relationships, how to bond with others, and to free up our creativity. Let's move on. Okay, so preparation allows us to get into a vision building, to use the power of the mind to build powerful visions of who we are, where we want to go, and allow the universe as well as others. When I talk about the universe, you're part of the universe. There are people in this room that before this conference is over, you will bring me an idea that will lead me to another idea, that will lead me to another idea, that will lead me to a higher level of my own personal freedom, if I only believe. And I do. And I didn't get here really because I wanted to be here. I had a very good friend call me and said, "Hey, you really need to speak at Blacks in Government." I said, "What for?" Hey, come on. They don't want to hear me. She said, "Nah, you got something to say. Why should it be wall to wall? See the shining sea. They'll be there." So I said, "Okay." And coming in today, I've already met 4 new great friends, got 2 great partners working here. When you build that vision of interconnectedness, when you believe, when you suspend disbelief, when you drive out fear, when you don't worry about what people are going to say about you, but worry about what you're going to say to them that is uplifting, magic happens. Magic things happen. And when magic things happen, you develop a common language. You learn how to talk to each other in ways that allow us to really share our visions and our dreams. We share beliefs. It's through a shared belief system. I believe you're sitting in this room because we share a common belief about success, and that is that we gain success by working through others. And sometimes the foundation of others are our parents, our godparents, our guardians, those people that taught us how to build the relationships that will guide us through life. Mom didn't pay one dime toward my college education. As a matter of fact, as I was leaving the house to go to college, she was passing away. She was waving goodbye at the casket. But what she taught me from birth to my 17th birthday allowed me to walk out that house, go to America's colleges and universities and find a way to success, because she laid that foundation about how to build a common language and share some common feelings with people and be a real person. Responsibility, the ability to respond. Respond to what? Skip will respond to the challenge of life. Right now, life is challenging you, and it has given you a tremendous tool to meet any and all challenges with, and that is the creative human mind. The purpose of your mind is to help you meet the challenges of life. And there's nothing on the face of the planet Earth or in outer space that we have seen or heard of that can deal with human beings who can create shared visions and communicate together. The strongest lion, an elephant herd, Tarzan, how is he able to control the whole jungle, right? Right. A whole jungle. Right? Why? Because he understood the power of the human mind. He wasn't afraid. He said the lion, Ungawa! And I said, okay. I don't know what that means, but I'm going to do something. Right. When you can respond to the challenge of life, you write a goal, because that goal written down tells your brain to hook up with your heart to come up with the right articulated words. A word is a vibration going through the air. What you're hearing is a vibration of my voice against some materials in your ear. That is resonating into your mind and into your heart. Into your heart is giving you a feeling. If you like what I'm saying, you feel maybe it could be a creative tension in here. If your mind is deciphering it, images, not of me are exploding in your mind, but of what you could have, the way you could live. And that's the power of a goal. It gives us a written guide as to where we are going with our lives and allows us to correct it. Okay, effort is the energy you put into life, and as an Egyptologist, Egypt was really not about death, it was about life. And ancient Egyptians defined life as energy. The presence of energy was life. The absence of energy was death. See, freedom is about energy. Freedom is about the ability to use your energy any way you want. Slavery is when somebody has psychologically captured your energy, governs it through your own thoughts and therefore your behaviors. Prisoner is when your energy is locked up. See, most of my ancestors were prisoners. They weren't slaves, because they was fighting to get off the plantation. They was running. We like Kunta Kinte. Chop off my ankle. I'm going to hobble out of there with one button. I'm no slave. See, the slaves were the ones sitting around the house and, oh, master. And hey, some had to do that. But you have to understand, there was a slave uprising every day. They fought to get out of it. I mean, they weren't just sitting there singing, dancing. No. And you got to be careful of the N-word. Because, see, in the beginning, the N-word, those were the people that said no. They said no. So the man had to come up with a word that would turn no's into yeses. I know. So he made the N-word somebody that was shiftless, somebody that was lazy, somebody that was uncouth, because the man understands psychology. And see, if you want to run a plantation, you can't have people running around saying no with a commitment to the death. You can't have that. So to have control over your energy, you have to say yes to some things and no to others. And I'm asking you to say yes to a mentor, because a mentor brings you the knowledge. Last but not least, you should talk with your mentor about evaluation. What happened? What happened with you? What happened with your learning? What happened with your... remember that the approach should be learner-centered, but that don't mean your mentor should be there to help you. Yes, you're going to help your mentor. Yes, of course. All learning partners and proteges bring value to the mentor. But, it's like a child in school. The purpose of the session is to help you learn. The players, the mentee, that's the learning partner, the mentor, and the manager. In a workplace situation, we recommend that the manager be a part. When we're talking about an informal situation with just you as a mentor or you and your mentor, the players are you and your mentor. I'm going to recommend a 4-phase semi-structured process. But that I recommend that a mentoring approach be for about a year. That means at the end of a year, if someone wants to continue, fine. If they don't, then you have a chance to have a business agreement, a commitment to study and learn with each other for a year. And when the year is over, with love, you go your separate ways or agree to continue mentoring each other. I recommend that you have structured meetings, conversations, and relationships. A mentoring session is not rap time. You don't come together to mentor to, share your worries or unload. You come to talk about selected business goals that take you, we're talking about change. Change is about from where I am to where I want to be. Change is not some amorphous thing out there, change management. Well, before you can change, you have to tell me where you are and where you want to go. Change from what to what. All right, and then evaluate it. Here we go, loop-de-loop. All right. Adult learning theory. Adult learning theory just means that mentors and proteges understand that everybody comes to the learning session with some knowledge. The mentor values the mentee's knowledge as much as the mentee values the mentors. That's adult learning theory. The mentee is the chief operating officer of the relationship. That means the mentee takes the relationship leadership, comes with an agenda, starts the conversation, initiates the conversation, calls and makes sure that they know where they're going to be. The mentee is the leader of the relationship. The mentor is a facilitator. The mentor should be someone that the mentee has scoped out and realizes this person has a particular body of knowledge that I would like to inculcate into my own lexicon. I'd like to bring into my own system awareness. And if your manager at work is involved, and if you're going to have an in-house program at work, I recommend you get your manager involved and let your manager know that by giving you time to go and be mentored, what that manager is doing is not only helping to improve your job performance, but the job performance of the work unit. Okay, this is what the players look like in a work situation. It's a triad. If you notice equilateral triangles, the purpose of that illustration is to help to understand that these are equal relationships in the mentoring session, with one caveat, and that is that the mentee leads it. The mentee brings people together, works on the time and place, has the agenda, works through the evaluation process. But it is a learning partnership with or without the manager. If it's without the manager, it's between the mentee or the protege and the mentor. It is a partnership generally agreed upon to meet once or twice a month for 12 months or a year. All right, so here's a further outline of the roles and responsibilities. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I just sort of listed them out here. So if you were interested in designing your own mentor-mentee relationship, you'd have some idea of some starting points. Does anybody have any questions about some of these roles? Anybody have any questions at all? Okay, let me get to some of the other stuff. This is what the process looks like. If it's over a year, the preparing phase, that's when the agreements come together. You pick your mentor, you go prospecting for your mentor, or one is assigned through Blacks in Government mentoring program, or a state or a county or a city government program. You have an orientation as to roles, and it's maybe a self-orientation, or you bring in an outside consultant. You have an agreement, and in the agreement you talk about how often you're going to meet, where you're going to meet, if there are any off-limits topics, like with some of my professional on-the-job mentors or my proteges, we do not discuss our families at home. We stay totally focused on the building. Most of the sessions that I have cross-gender, we agree to stay out of each other's personal lives. We don't talk about, maybe with some men, and you might say, well, why would you have those conversations with men and not with women? Because male-female relationships have not been even throughout history, and especially throughout workplace history. And there are lots of problems in the literature that come up with cross-gender mentoring. First of all, most women that want to move up the business ladder have to come to a man for some learning. sometimes we as men have mistaken a desire for learning for a desire for other things. I see a head bob over here. You know what I'm talking about. And the literature is full of those kinds of challenges. It is full of it. So what I do is I make sure that I bring comfort and relaxation to myself and comfort and relaxation to my cross-gender partner by laying out very clearly what we're going to talk about and what we're not going to talk about. I mean, it's not always easy because a lot of ladies that I work with are very attractive. And they come in there, I ain't saying nothing about them high heels. I ain't saying nothing about them hangs. You're right, I'm not. Now, it was a different situation. You may be, but once you get in that mentoring situation, you're almost locked and loaded for life because once she recognizes that you're capable of going there, then that's what she expects. That's what she expects. So, you know, we make sure we stay focused. With some Caucasians, we're able to talk about some things that, well, with African American males, I'm able to talk about maybe some things I wouldn't talk about with Caucasian males. And it's not but for any other reason, but there may be a familiarity there, there may be a commonality of backgrounds that allows us to do that. But regardless of who it is, first and foremost in my mind, that a mentoring relationship is a business relationship. And we're not there to chit-chat, we're not there to lollygag, give each other compliments or whatever. We're there to talk about the protege's learning goals. Okay, then the negotiating phase. Somebody set a goal for like $100 million. If I was your mentor, I'd say, let's negotiate on that. Let's if we did, let's set it up as over a time period. So when we're gonna lock in that first $500,000, you know what I mean? How do we get that first $500,000 in there? Who do you, what do you have to know? Where do you have to go? What knowledge base? Because where you are now in $500,000 is just a matter of how. It's not a matter of what. It's not a matter of when. You know what I mean? How do we do that? What is out there in the universe? Who is out there in the universe? We need to contact, draw upon to get those, you know, moving your way and then doubling up and then tripling up, doing what money does through compound interest, grow. All right. So the enabling phase, that's where we're working the plan. That's where we're working the plan. And if we're meeting twice a week, I'm giving you pointers on how you can work the plan. It might start off slow the first few weeks, but we're out about 3-4 months, you know, we're clipping along. Now, here's what happens in building money. First 5 years are arduous. It doesn't pop till after the 7th year. And if you're somebody, not you personally, that needs immediate gratification, you're gonna stay broke. The best way to start out with wealth is to have your great-grandfather put you on that track. Somebody else knew that. They knew to keep you scratching, grab your great-grandfather and grandmother by their necks. That means your grandfather and your father were by their necks. So they didn't get a chance to bring us the knowledge of wealth. If you're going to mentor your kids and grandkids for wealth, if it's your grandkids, you got to start teaching them now. And if you throw a few bucks, if they're born right now, by the time they turn 7, man, it's going to be a nice little chunk. 7 years later, that's going to double. By the time they get to 21, that's going to double again. And you're adding to it all along. Last but not least, the transition phase. This is near the end, maybe the last couple of months, where if you're the protege, you're saying, well, you know, we want to keep going. There are people that I've wanted to keep going with, but I broke it off anyway. You know why? They were tired of me. They wanted to do something else. And they would not have said, well, Skip, you know what? No, you know, they would say, okay, man, yeah, I like you. But that would have taken them away from something that they really, really wanted to do. So I let them go. But I said, hey, well, look, okay, you're taking this year off and we hook up year after this and we'll come back together again. Because I wanted to learn, but I didn't want to walk anybody down. This is what a mentoring year looks like. It's a 12-month period, and that's what it looks like the way we lay it out for a year. Okay, so data mining is just deep research. Going into the knowledge bank of the mentor, really getting an understanding of what do they know about this thing that you want to know more about. How broad is it? How deep is it? Sharing with them what you know. Coming to some agreement on achievable goals. Okay, moving right along. Phase 3, enabling goals. here's some ideas about what folks can be doing. I generally recommend one goal, a single goal, and I recommend that goal be around a lifestyle. When I originally started my life design program, I chose a lifestyle, not a career. The career didn't come till later. And what I built that lifestyle around was time off. I wanted to be home with my kids. So I had to find people that could show me how to make enough money to live for a year and only work 8 months. Because I wanted to take from the 15th of December to the 15th of January. 2 weeks to get the tree, 2 weeks to take it down. Then I wouldn't be rushed. So there are people that can teach you this. There are those people. But you have to go out into the universe to find them. They don't come, drop themselves on your doorstep and say, you deserve a break today. Let me tell you how you get 12 months rent out of 8 months work. It doesn't happen. You have to go out and find them. And you have to put it in your mind and put it in your heart that that's important to you. So one of the things I realized was I had to go back and get more education. That's the master's degree. Why did I go back? I wanted to be a manager. Why did I want to be a manager? I wanted to own my own home. Why did I want to own my own home? Because the women I associated with expected their men to own their own homes. How many of you know what I'm talking about? Put your hand in the air and say yeah. Yeah. They did not want a guy that was going to be satisfied in a 3-bedroom apartment. I don't care how big the rooms were. And I know you're saying, oh man, that's materialistic. Yeah. Right, but you have a wife that wants a house and you got an apartment. You tell me what it's like. You either get education or you get out. I mean, you do something, but you just don't stay there. That's why I went back for a master's degree. In order to be a manager, I had to have one. Why did I go back for a PhD? Well, that's something different. That's something altogether different. But, oh, okay, I'll tell you why. Because, yeah, I'm gonna tell you. Speaker speaks. It's the difference between $4 grand a day and $8 grand a day, having a doctorate. Yes, that's what a doctorate does. Also, it puts you in contact with people like Georgio, and I mean, that's what writing books, yeah, Patrick, that's what it's about. It's about how do you get people to pay for your lifestyle. That's what a college professor is. How do you get a grant? $2 million grant. You get 10%, $250,000 a year to do what? Study bed bugs. there. Right. Right up a study on it. I mean, right. I hate to be so. I know what you thought. I thought the same thing. Oh man, it's about real study, yeah. What about stupid stuff? Ain't nobody studying how to remove poverty and starvation from the planet. Now you can get money to take bags of rice to somebody. You can't get any money to look at how do you remove poverty. Well, we're studying that. Right, no you're not. What you're studying is how to protect the present infrastructure. That's just the label that you're throwing. Because see, in order to have wealth, you must have poverty. Poverty was invented. So you can't be a king without poor people. We were founded by kings and queens. What makes a person a king? Well, I got more than you got. That's what makes me a king. Unless you saw Braveheart sitting on the side of the hill. Not Braveheart, but the king and his general sitting on the side of the hill. General says to the king, what does it take to be a king? King looks at him and laughs and said, first of all, you got to be son of a king. What's he talking about? He said, you got to be mentored. There's no school for teaching you how to rule. That's what your dad teaches you because he wants you to take his name down through the years. So he teaches you how to rule. Number 2, you need an army. Army goes out and kills people that don't do what you say. You know what I mean? Why? Because number 3, you have a budget. You let George Bush run out of a budget. See how many people over in Iraq fighting for freedom. Not many. They're over there fighting for an education. All right. And don't misunderstand me. All right, did the same thing in Vietnam. All right, anybody here in Vietnam vet? All right, how do they feel about us now, huh? You're right. How was it for? Yeah. Right, what's it for? I went over there with God, country, love, and so I care about them, I love them. I just hope that, well, here's our 1-hour meeting. I wish I could have mentored a couple of them. First part, 2 or 3 minutes building rapport. Notice I said 2 or 3 minutes. By the end of 5 minutes, you should have reviewed the agenda. Then I'm going to recommend about 45 minutes for learning, listening, and experiencing. And then the last 5 minutes for reflection and evaluation. I just threw that in there so you'd understand you could break that hour down to maximize on the use of time. All right. All right, common language. There are some relationship building skills under common language, interpersonal communication, attitude management, data mining, storytelling, and e-mentoring. E-mentoring means that we don't have to be around each other per se to mentor. You can send me an email, I can send you one back. E-mentoring helps because I might be busy when you send it, but I can get to it later on. You send me a concern, an idea, a concept, I give you my impression, maybe give you some information on where to go. Okay, interpersonal communication skills. The trick is to understand the middle. In the middle, you have building trust, the mentor providing actionable feedback. And I put these people in here for a reason. Anybody have any idea why did I pick these two images? Why? Yeah, right. Cross-gender, cross-cultural. That means you have to learn to speak each other's language. And sometimes these types of folks have to really stretch. They have to suspend disbelief. They have to evoke love. And it's not what you say, I love you, that's not what it is. But as you shrink this interpersonal gap, as you come closer together, the mind opens up. So how do you open up the mind of your senders? Send constructive ideas. Never ever send negative information or put people down. Use encouraging language. Show respect. Read nonverbals. Right now, I'm reading your nonverbals. I'm noticing from your eye contact. I'm not walking back and forth across the room. I don't want to cross the projector. But I'm watching where your eyes are. I'm watching the parallel of your shoulder to the desktop. I'm watching how you respond to different things I say. I'm looking at whether or not you're leaning in, rubbing your chin. Why? Because those body language signs tell me more about you than your words can ever say. I'm looking at how you dress, how you wear your hair, clothes you have on. Why? You wore what you wore today for the same reason I wore what I wore today. A reason. There was a reason for it. So what do you think the reason for this? What am I trying to say? What am I trying to say?
Gators on.
Gators on. You don't wear socks with gators. Yeah. You wear the socks. No. Right. Okay, so how you feed information forward, how you feed information back, closes the gap, bridges trust. If I'm a receiver, keep an open mind, suspend disbelief. Give the idea a chance. Read the nonverbals. Don't just sit there and look at a person, study them. Don't study them to the point where you make them uncomfortable. Just train your eyes to watch different things they do, and over time coordinate what they mean. Listen to how they shape their words. Listen carefully to their vocabularies. Show respect. This is about building a relationship, not one-upmanship. Decode. Decode means to learn. Anytime anybody says something, you're learning. It doesn't matter what they say. You're either learning something that's positive, learning something that's negative, learning something that's helpful, learning something that's not helpful. You're always learning something. By associating with people who can help you learn the right things, that does mean you're going to have to pick your associates. That doesn't mean you discriminate. No, it does. But you do not discriminate based on prejudice. You're not prejudging people. But if people have, over time, demonstrated an ability to waste your time, you have to make a decision on just how valuable your time is. Respond reflectively. That means sometimes you have to think about your answer. Reflect on it. Take a pause for the cause. You don't have to blurt an answer back to prove anybody everything. Let me think about that a minute. Thank you. Well, as a matter of fact, let me get back with you in a couple of days. It's a momentous thought. Let me think about that. If someone's asking you deep, high-value questions you may need. I asked the question, what does success mean to you? I don't know if the average person could just blurt right out what that means. I mean, wouldn't you have to reflect on that for a minute? What does success mean to you? It took me years to figure that out. First I thought it was girls, then I thought it was cars, then I thought it was money. Come to find out, it's the ability to give back. The ability to give something back. But I had to go through all that stuff. I had to go through all that stuff to get to gifting back. Somebody had told me when I was 23, 24, hey man, get some, are you crazy, man? I don't have nothing yet, you know. I need to get something. Man, gets me a car, you know. I gotta go, you know. Once you go through those things, you realize it'll make you happy. So, okay, what makes me happy? In a learning situation with people, that brings me a lot of joy. I'm getting so much joy from this today. And there's no money involved because you are learning. The feedback you're giving me, the eye contact, the head bobs, tells me I have value in your lives at this moment, and that's priceless. What does that mean? Storytelling skills, planning for a promotion, dealing with success or failure, navigating the culture. It's the one I like to talk to my mentors about. How do I navigate higher and higher and higher executive level cultures where words or nuances make or break your ability to survive there? Managing hierarchies and conflict. A young guy coming in heard me talking with some vice presidents. I used to work at Pitney Bowes. And he says, well, why do you say yes, sir, and no, ma'am all the time? I said, well, because I want to be a vice president. And he says, well, isn't that kissing up? And I said, not in Nordstrom's. It's called marketing. It's called customer service.
That's it.
Suckers, and how do you know when you have suckers? Well, these are people that are holding the paint can. A junior sucker, excuse my language, but we got to be real here. Holds the paint can while someone else paints the S on their chest. Senior sucker holds the can in one hand and the brush in the other, and they paint it on themselves. Okay, what am I talking about? If you understand that a culture is hierarchical, one way you build failure into up-and-coming junior partners is you teach them that customer service is kissing up, because they're the same thing with different labels slapping on. So you go down here to Martin Luther King or African American Academy, and you guys, you know, say yes, ma'am. No. Well, when you start I don't know and a teacher, what happens? The teacher's desire to teach you goes down. You don't know, I don't know either, Bernard. Right. Right, there you go. Right. Well, you know. Right. But then there's the kid that, yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes ma'am, no ma'am. That teacher is energized by those words. Words are things. The purpose of those words is to energize that receiver to give you more. Somebody said, well, how did you make it? Basically 4 words. Yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir. Weren't you kissing? Please and thank you. Right on, my sister. Weren't you kissing up?
No.
Well, are you holding the paint can or not? If you're holding the paint can, yeah. But if you're in the business of moving up in the world, that's called marketing. No, it wasn't. I'm marketing Skip Rowland. That's my rapper, that's my logo, that's my slogan. I want them, regardless of race, creed, national origin, or religion, to do more for me because I'm worth it, and I demonstrate it in my conversation. Okay, data mining skills. Did I pass attitude already?
Yes, it did.
Oh, okay. Is pertinent that one? Oh, okay, wait a minute, maybe. Oh, here it is, right here. I could talk about some of these. E-mentoring, I mentioned. That filtering of cultural barriers. There are a lot of folks who I don't even know all over the world that I email about various aspects of leadership. Data mining, I think I told you about that.
No, you didn't.
Okay, well, data mining is just really studying your audience and looking to ask high-value questions that get your mentor or your learning partner protege to demonstrate to you the breadth, that's how much they know, how many different topics they know things about, and the depth, that's how deep they can go in each topic, to see how broad and deep their knowledge base is. Not to put them down or call them names or anything like that, but so that you know about their development. Okay, this one I want to make sure I got it. Attitude management. Underlying your vision and your ability to communicate is your attitude. Now, your attitude is a package of thoughts that grooves your habits. If we're going to be a slave to anything, I recommend we be a slave to constructive habits and attitudes. Now, we have an attitude about everything that touches your life. You have an attitude about the way you wear your hair, my brother. We have an attitude about the clothes we have on. We have an attitude about our house or our apartment. We have an attitude about the walkway up to our house or our apartment. We have an attitude, a different attitude about each and every one of our different child. Each and every different family and friend. Because our attitude is that body of thoughts around that particular entity that shape our relationship with that particular person, place, or thing. It is the human's way of either accepting or rejection of connectivity. But we can control it. See, generally what we think is we can't control those things. Well, you can. But in order to control that connectivity, you have to control your own mind. Okay, what am I talking about when I say the mind? The mind is what the brain does. If the brain, remember the brain, is fearful, then the words going through your mind, that self-talk of that inner voice, is fear-laden. Don't trust him. Watch out for her. Uh-oh, here it comes, here it comes. You don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear that. Why? Because I'm scared. So we control that inner voice. The way I control that inner voice is with something called an affirmation. An affirmation is an I statement spoken in present tense as though I already have something. So about 20 years ago, I began to say, I am a millionaire. And then I put in a feeling word because it makes me feel strong. And I can see myself. I just mentally image myself with some gaiters on and no socks, tailor-made pants, shirt to match, belt and shoes match, not a lot of jewelry, something. Yeah, I imagine that. And I said, because it makes me feel strong. What makes me feel strong? Having it, not needing it, rather than needing it and not having it, makes me feel strong. Because I watched my father feel weak coming in every day, ashamed to say he didn't have enough money to pay the bills, couldn't afford to get us out of the house with rats and roaches living right there. I mean, they showed up at the dinner table like everybody else. What's happening? What's up today? Move over in that bed, Skip. Right, hey, man, give me some of those cups. Hey, homie, all right. Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I went to bed every night as a kid with rats and roaches. Every night. Now, if you go to bed every night as a kid with rats and roaches and you're true to your own self-worth, and what am I talking about? Self-image. I went to bed with rats and roaches, but I never saw myself in the bed with them.
That's it.
What I was looking for is when I had my own crib. Why? Because there wasn't going to be none of that in my house. No kid of mine was ever going to go to bed with chinches. They're not going to know what a chinch is.
Thank you.
Right. They're not going to know. Because daddy's taking care of it. Okay, so the image, the self-image, the vision I had of me. I asked the men earlier, how many men in here have a vision of yourself as handsome? Put your hand in here and say yeah. But then I asked the women, how many women in here see themselves as beautiful?
Oh, yeah.
Put your hand in the air and say yeah. Right. And you have to. Now, I didn't say glamorous. Handsome and beauty are qualities that start on the inside and work to the outside of you. They're character skills. Glamour is something you buy in the store. First, hey, I love glamour. Lipstick, love me some lipstick. I don't wear it. But I like it. I love it. You know, you won't catch me buying anything unless somebody send me to the store. I can go to the store now. You know, give me one of those red ones. Give me the lollipop and the candy. Right, but I'm, chapstick, my brother and my sister. Chapstick. And I like a little glamour, I look at the little slick stuff, the gel. That rollover, you get that ball spot hidden. So I said, man, cut them straight. No, got self-image. Leave them right alone. Right, they got a purpose on you. That's to make me feel good. You know what I mean?
I know that's right.
Make me feel good.
Yes, sir.
Adds to my self-image. So when I walk out onto a stage in a room of non-believers, when I walk into a room, a black man and 4,000 white folks, because that's what a convention is like. And I walk up to the podium and say, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a pleasure. I got, but I got this image of this strong guy in this blue coordinated outfit. in this slick tailor-made jacket, you know what I mean? And he's standing there. And although in here everything's going, oh man, I remember what the neighborhood was like. And, oh man, will they accept me? That's not what's guiding my behavior. It's that new image. That other person is right there trying to bust out, but I don't let him bust out. Doesn't mean he's not there. That's when, you know, in the scriptures say, get behind me, Satan. They were talking about, they weren't talking about something out there. They were talking about that little person in here that never goes away.
There you go. There you go.
But you grow away from as you turn into the person you vision yourself to be, as you leave behind the kid that you were. That little helpless kid. At one time I was a little helpless kid, bigger than most kids, got beat up for it. So I learned to hate being big, till I learned to love being big. But it took a while, you know what I mean? It didn't happen by 7 or 8. By 14, I was getting there. And that meant I was building a broader comfort zone. A comfort zone is that area in your psycho-emotional being that either narrows your acceptance of experiences or opens yourself up to them. Most of us, oppressed people, are taught to have a very narrow comfort zone, are taught to have a very negative self-image, are taught to say nasty things to themselves and each other, and they make sure we do, so we learn them through the dozens. The purpose of, we didn't pick the dozens up, they don't have dozens in Africa, they only have dozens on a plantation. Everybody know the dozens cracking on each other, calling each other names? Why? So that it goes into our memory banks. And when a person told you last week how ugly you were, you went to the mirror and you saw, yeah, there's that ugly guy in there he was talking about. You find your own ugliness. Or you go out and you get a magazine and you hold it up. This is pretty, I'm ugly. You compare everything that's wrong with you with everything they say this airbrushed person has that you don't have. The purpose of that is to lower your self-esteem, drive negative into your self-talk, reduce your self-expectations. So when you reduce your self-expectations, you talk about a smaller dream. That's why I said my dream wasn't big enough. Why? Because I had negatively reinforced until I changed my friends. Because that's where you can't change your family. You can leave them, but you can't change them. But my friends, I could fire. I fired a bunch of friends. And on the way out the door, they called me Uncle Tom. Yeah, that's me. Send a letter to Uncle Tom. Hope I get it. They call me Kiss Up. They call me Suck Up. They call me everything under the sun. Now they call me and ask me, can they borrow some money? Hey, Skip. Hey, bro. I knew you were my brother. I knew you had it on the ball. Say, look here, man. I'm trying to put this deal together. I know you're doing the deals and everything. You understand? And you know what I'm trying to do, man? I am trying to get this $35. Can you help a brother out? Yeah.
No.
You got it right.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so. But I'm not mean. I'll give them a referral, right? All right. So, right. So what I'm saying is, this filter, that reptilian brain, that mammalian brain that creates, that draws us to, and makes us feel confident about things, that's what we need to program. How do we program it? By keeping our senses clear and associating with input sources or mentors who send us constructive messages. The message here is get rid of the toxic people in your life. Let me do an affirmation. I want you to repeat after me. I promise to myself.
Promise to myself.
Right. So what I'm saying is, this filter, that reptilian brain, that mammalian brain that creates, that draws us to, and makes us feel confident about things, that's what we need to program. How do we program it? By keeping our senses clear and associating with input sources or mentors who send us constructive messages. The message here is get rid of the toxic people in your life. Let me do an affirmation. I want you to repeat after me. I promise to myself.
Promise to myself.
To get rid of all toxic people in my life.
To get rid of all toxic people in my life.
Right now.
Right now.
Because it makes me feel strong.
It makes me feel strong.
Right, that's an affirmation. And you just got to do the Stevie Wonder. Goodbye, goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye. Goodbye, right.
Goodbye.
And then get to stepping. Another affirmation. I am am a millionaire.
Am a millionaire.
A multimillionaire.
A multi-millionaire.
Making
Making
$350,000 a year.
$350,000 a year.
With $5 million in the bank.
With $5 million in the bank.
Because it makes me feel strong.
Because it makes me feel strong.
In 1935, in 1935, 10 years before I was born, the dividing line between the top of the upper class, the top of the middle class, and the bottom of the upper class was $5 million in the bank and $350,000 a year. In 1935. Right. We have to make hundreds of thousands, ladies and gentlemen. We have to believe that we are supposed to do that. We have to believe and feel that we deserve it. We have to believe and feel and see. Now, why is that money? I'm not talking about bling bling and saying, you want to buy a Cadillac? Fine. You want a diamond ring? Fine. That's not what the money's for. If you need to buy a few of those things for you, do that. The money is for social change. Social change, like everything else in America, is purchased. You can't march it away. You can't sing it away. You can't hope it away. You have to purchase change. And to have the discretionary income to pool our money into activities that get us a piece of the rock, you have to make more than you need. That's what discretionary income is, more than what you need. All right, here's a place we can write some affirmations. We've already said, too, I'm a millionaire because it makes me feel strong. I'd like all the men to write at least one thing. I am a very handsome man because it makes me feel strong. I'd like all the men to write that. I'd like all the women to write, I am a very beautiful woman because it makes me feel strong to have that vision of me. Let me all the men say on 3, I am a very handsome man.
I'm a very handsome man.
Okay, let me get to 3. All right. All right. 1, 2, 3.
I'm a very handsome man.
Excellent.
Okay, you sound convincing this time.
Yeah, right, yeah. See, it's not so much, and that's not bragging, that's affirming. I don't do that in front of other people. I do that in front of my mirror. When I go to my mirror. In the morning when I wake up, Skipper Rowland's very handsome man. Then I watch all that soap on my eyes. Skipper Rowland's very handsome man. Skipper brush my teeth, Skipper Rowland's very handsome man. And by the time I get to the 50th, Skipper Rowland is a very handsome man. I'm believing. And that's when I want that crease in my pants, that shine in my shoes, that fresh shirt, that trim hair, you know, that extra brush on the teeth. So when I come out, it's not so much what they think about me, but what I think of myself. Because they're going to think what they want to think. And they're going to think what they want to think. First time I got to Spokane, I saw guys with no teeth, 50 pounds overweight, with some of them beautiful women in the world. So it ain't what others think about you. It's what they think about you. It's what you think about yourself.
Thank you.
All right, and I lived there for the next 12 years. All the ladies, please say, on 3, I am a very beautiful woman because it makes me feel strong. 1, 2, 3.
I am a very beautiful woman because it makes me feel strong.
And as you say those words, you should see yourself in all of your radiance and glory, going out doing whatever it is in life that you feel destined to do with a feeling of strength in your heart and in your mind. So we write these down. I recommend that you say them 3 times a day. I usually say 40 or 50 times in the morning. I usually say it maybe 15 or 20 in the afternoon, then another 40 or 50 when I go to bed. I always have one about money. Always. Now it's like I have 20 million in the bank. I make $300,000 a year. I'm an excellent husband because it makes me feel strong. And then I see myself with flowers, with cards, being creative, being innovative. You know, what I learned from women is that 2 things a man can't be. One is broke, the other is bored. And definitely you want to be both of those at the same time. You know, if you're a boring kind of guy, right. If you're a boring kind of guy, you know what I mean, have money, you know what I mean? Let your money do your talking for you. Go places, buy plane tickets, go out to dinner. Let the waiter come over and sing. You just sit there and keep your mouth shut, you know? And you know what I mean? Just be able to do that, you know what I mean? But if you have no money, be entertaining, you know what I mean? Read books, tell stories, write poems. Don't forget birthdays and holidays. But the worst thing in the world, and they'll tell on you too, the worst thing in the world is to be both a broken boy and man. All right, learning goals. The purpose of a goal is a design period. Goals give us the opportunity to design our responses to challenges. There's a challenge in action. Right now you're being challenged with income. I'm recommending that you design a plan that results in goal-oriented behavior. The alternative is reactionary behavior. You have a reactionary model. It challenges you, you do what? You run out and get a job. Now, I'm not saying we don't need jobs, but jobs are not a means to an end. Jobs are temporary situations to create income. America is moving away from jobs. And by that I mean they're moving away from the benefit packages, the hospital, the dental care, that enable the job to have that power in our lives. I am going to recommend that everyone with a job think about owning your own business of some kind. Okay, I recommend you select a single goal area. Build it around a lifestyle. Think about the kind of lifestyle you want. How do you want to spend your time? Who do you want to spend your time with? What do you want to do with those people? Where do you want to go with those people? And then begin to look into work that allows you to do it. I want to spend the time I feel like spending with people like you. And when I get it, we'll get off from here. When I get tired, I'm going to go down to the golf course, out to the lake on my boat, or do what I want to do. That's how I design my life. You can do that too. But first you have to suspend disbelief. If you're going to say, yeah, but, forget it. If you're not going to say, okay, let me start processing that, let me reflect, how might that happen? But if you're going to say to me, yeah, but what about, and what about, well, what about it? I think, what about going back to work, okay? What about going back to work? Or what about designing your life? Let's talk about designing your life, because we know about going back to work. We were brought to this country to work. Let's stay here and create businesses. We were brought to this country to work. Let's stay here and create businesses. Okay, I'm going to recommend that you mentor on 3 areas. Experience. What job or learning experience visibility do you need? Education. What formal? I'm going to recommend, I know, I had teachers say everybody shouldn't go to college. That depends. If you're going to live in a 2030 world, I believe in the bottom of my heart in 2030, every adult's going to need a college education. What do you think? Yes. Right. So if you're someone in the world of work, I'm going to recommend a master's degree for everybody. Minimum of a master's degree. Absolute drop dead minimum. Because what that does is it puts your brain, at least you know what your leadership out there knows, and puts you in a position for leadership if you so choose to pursue it. Now, I'm not talking about elitists. I'm talking about the practical application of advanced knowledge. That's what I'm talking about. Your mind in a room with other minds, and you fully knowing what they're talking about and being unafraid intellectually to get in a conversation with them. And for those of you who want to take the next step, think about a PhD. You'd be surprised how easy it is. And you, yes ma'am, and you'd be, if I did it, you can do it. I did it at 50. I'm 62. And it gave me another 10 years of youth. I didn't say age. I said youth. Learning keeps you young. Right. Exposure. What do you want to be exposed to? A lot of my mentors took me around the places where I could meet other people that were doing what I wanted to do and network. Expose yourself to everybody. Well, I mean, when I say that, I mean, give yourself the opportunity to meet a wide variety of people here. In order to meet 1 or 2 folks, I'm not talking people you can have lunch with, shake your hands, trade war stories. I'm talking about people who will add high-value content to your life. You're going to need to meet 25 people here. And out of that 25 people, you may find 1 or 2. Not that they won't be friends, not that you won't be calling each other girlfriend, boyfriend, hey, what's up? I'm talking about people who you can sit down and actually construct and pursue learning, developmental, maybe economically developmental activities. If you can find 2 to 3 folks, you have done very well. But if you don't look, you won't find. Okay, this is the SMART system. Goals should be, or objectives should be specific. I want to make $100,000 in the next 12 months. Measurable in the next 7 months. Action oriented. Take out the wanna. I will. That's a verb. That's an action verb. Wanna is not an action verb. It's a passive verb. I will make $100,000 in the next 12 months. And then you got to say it over and over. It makes me feel strong over and over and over and over again. Is it realistic? Well, that depends. It's realistic to me. Only $10,000 a month or less. I can do that. $2,500 a week. I can do that. But I can't throw some yeah buts in it. Yeah, but what about Christmas and holiday? Yeah, but suppose you break your leg. Yeah, but. Yeah, but. And these should be built around a single goal statement. Okay, here's some objectives here. You could write, what are your objectives? What are your educational objectives? Let's everybody just write down an objective education. How many of you are willing to write that down, a master's degree? Or if you don't already have one, right? How many of you already have your master's? All right, so what is your next goal? If you were my mentor, yes, ma'am, what's your name?
Mike?
Yes.
Georgio.
Hi, Dorothy. If you and I were mentoring, how would we approach setting a goal, an education goal for you? Would it be about another degree? Would it be access to workshops, seminars? How do you think we might approach that?
I'm going for my PhD.
Oh, okay. So then, have you already enrolled in the program? Well, let me thank you, my sister. I tell you, we're trying to put together right now a network of black PhDs. Oh, yeah, why not? That's it. Yeah, right. So I'm not sure. I hope I've got 2 cards left. I'm going to give you one of them because you're going to find the group, very supportive. Where are you now in your studies?
At UW.
Excellent. Well, I teach at UW. I teach in the School of Business. I teach international marketing. So hopefully we'll get together and chat. All right, anybody write down an education goal, something you'd like to do to move? Yes, ma'am. What did you write?
My education, I have a master's, and I continue to take classes in my field of study because I want to be a reader.
Okay. So if you and I were mentoring, you would want me to come in with knowledge about what classes, what educational opportunities are out there to broaden your administration skills. Okay, let's take a look at exposure. Exposures are short visits where we might go to some kind of a networking event or an event that allowed networking. Most networking events are not labeled networking events. They're meetings or other type of gatherings where you're coming with a mentor would expose you to people, places, and things that would help your career. So what type of exposures might be interesting to you? What would you like to do to help your career? More seminars like this. Okay, very good. What branch of government do you work? Is that state government? How about sitting in, are you here in the state of Washington? Okay, how about sitting in with Governor Gregoire? Suppose I got you sometime when we were sitting in with Governor Gregoire and you were down there with their general staff and you was able to sit and watch and listen. How would you like to do that sometime? All right, so I tell you what, I got one more card. I'm going to give it to you. You send me an email. I just sent the governor. I'm president of Table 100. We meet quarterly with Governor Gregoire, at least semi-annually. Next time we go to meet, I'm going to see if I can get you on our entourage. Is that all right? Our entourage. All right. And you can be up there with Skip and Chris. And you're going to have to sit there and be quiet. I'm not saying that to be smart, but because that's what we do. We sit and we look. Are you coming in? Oh, so you need this room?
Yeah, at 3.
All right. Huh?
At 3.
Is it 3? Yes. Hey, you know what? The clock on the wall. Let me just check it out.
Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. I was just about done anyway. The clock on the wall, ladies and gentlemen, says that's all. We got started a little late, but we got to run it. Thank you. Give yourself a hand. Warm round of applause to one and all. May the Lord bless and keep you until we meet again. Peace and love. All right. I'll be out in the hall if you want to chat with me. I'll be out in the hall.